deal with circles in the coordinate plane. We're going to be dealing with the equation of a circle. It is a formula. It is one that you will have to know, but it is one that makes sense. It's fairly easy. The information in it comes fairly easy to most people. If you have questions, just let me know as we go through. Let's start off with that formula. Here we go. First things first, this is what the equation of a circle looks like. It's going to be x. Now guys, listen to me. When you look at this formula, you've got to understand that this x that is right here is x. It's going to stay x. It's going to stay y right here. These ones that are back at the back are going to be numbers that are from an ordered pair that is the center of the circle. That center of the circle is going to be numbers that go in this spot. So it's going to be like x minus 3 plus, then it's going to be y minus 7, or plus, it could be plus. But the formula has minuses in it. Okay? So that center of the circle is going to represent those numbers. It's going to come as an ordered pair. You're just going to plug them into those two spots. That's it. The last part is going to be the radius squared. Y'all know what the radius is in a circle. All you're going to do is take that radius and you're going to square it, and that's going to give you the number on the end. We can do that visually from a picture, or we can get it from the information that's in the problem. Let's show you what they look like when they're already written in the format of the equation. So this very first one, guys, it has x squared. Is there any number added or subtracted to the x? No. If there's nothing there, what is the only number you could add to x and it not change the value? Leave it at just x. Add. What can you add and not change the value of something? Zero. Zero. So the first one is going to be 0, and then you see again, this one is just y. What's the only thing you could add to it and not change the value? Again, it would be 0. So guys, where's the center of the circle? What's that point called? The point of origin? Absolutely. The origin, that is where everything begins on the graph. It's on the coordinate plane. It's going to be that point where the x and y axis cross each other. Good. The next thing you're going to have to do is find the radius. R equals, guys, to find that. How do you work backwards from squaring something to find out that radius? Yeah. So take that and square root that. What is the square root of 81? 9. Perfect. That's it. You just pulled out the center. This is the center. And you pulled out the radius. So now you could crack it. Here we go. The next, It is. It is. Very much. But it's visual because it's geometry. You know, it's an actual shape. So it's going to show have a visual. We'll have graphs of it in a minute. Instead of lines, they're just circles. It's the only difference. Okay, guys, here we go again. Center. The center is a point. That center is a point that's found from these numbers right here. But you have to be careful. This formula has minuses. This is the only thing about the formula. If you do not learn this, it will mess up every one of your centers. Listen, the formula has minuses. So whatever is in here, it's the opposite of that when you pull it out. Since this is -5, when you pull it out, it's going to be +5. Since this is +4, when you pull it out, it's going to be -4. We still do the radius the same way. The radius is going to be the square root of that last number. So the radius in this case is what? 5. Perfect. Okay, let's do it again. Anybody have a question before I do the next one? Okay, let's do it again. Guys, what would this be for the x? -1. What would this be for the y? +3. And what is the radius if the end number is 400? 20. Perfect. It sounds like no issues. Usually there aren't, but I want to make sure we answer any questions if we need to. Like I said, this is usually one of the best sections in this test. Okay, here we go. Let's keep going. The next thing is basically the exact same thing backwards. If they give you the center and the radius, now can you write the equation? So this is what we've got. We've got the center. We've got the radius. Oh, stop. Pause before we do anything. Look on numbers 6 and 7. Why are they going to be an issue? It's the diameter. And it doesn't use the diameter. What does it use? Radius. First thing you ought to do is cross this out. put radius equals. Before you do anything on this worksheet, every diameter, remember I told you that when you did circles? This is circles again. Every single diameter you should cut in half. What's the radius going to be for number 6? 7. And what is the radius going to be for number 7? 4. That ought to be the first thing you do before you do it, just so you don't do something careless, guys. I would do that first. Now we're going to write the equation. When we write the equation, we're going to start with an x every time. It's going to have an x. You're going to subtract this number, but guys, we don't write minus 0. We don't even put parentheses when we have that. If it's 0, 0, then the x is just going to be x squared. Perfect. Plus, same thing for the y. It's just going to be y squared. And what's it going to be equal to? It's not equal to 6. What's it equal to? 36. You got to square that number. Whatever this number is, you square it. Whatever that radius is, you square it. Right. Now, this is the first one that has numbers in there, so you're going to need your parentheses this time. So you're going to set up your parentheses. It's going to be x. Guys, since these are both positive, when you put them both in, they're both going to be what? Negative. So it's going to be minus 3, and the whole thing is squared. Plus, you do the exact same thing for the y, but the y is going to be what? Y what? How would I write it here for the y, guys? Good. Y minus 2, and the whole thing is squared. Ooh, this is kind of unique. What's it equal to? 1, because 1 times 1 is 1. Doesn't matter how many times you multiply it, it's still going to be 1. Nice. Okay, for this next one, we've got a center where they're both negative. If they're both going to be negative, when you plug one in the problem, they're both going to be what? Positive. So it's going to be x plus 4 squared plus y plus 9 squared equals what? It's not 14. 49. You got to square it. Now multiply it by 2. Square it. Yes, sir.
No.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, last one. Try to write this one on your own. Since it's the last one of these, I don't have a ton of examples because there's just not a lot to this. Try this one on your own. Anybody got it that will share it? Yeah, I'll get you next time. X plus 7 squared. Nice. Equals 16. Most people mess this up because they get one number and they think they got it right. Guys, that's exactly correct. Nicely done. Very nicely done. Nice, nice, nice. Anybody see anything about that they need to ask a question about? Okay, now let's go to the visual. This is the exact same thing, but now you have a picture. Guys, the only difference between this and the last one is you have to find the center and you have to find the radius, but it's all in the picture. It's a visual section. Here we go. So, first things first, we need a center and a radius for every single one of these problems. Center and a radius for every single one of these problems. Okay? To find the center, you're just locating this dot. What ordered pair is this? Well, guys, remember, you got to remember X and Y rules and what you got to do to be able to do this. In order to do it, it's going to be what? -2 and +2. The first number tells you to go left or right. The second number tells you to go up or down. So we're going to go to the left 2, which is -2. That is exactly correct. And then we are going to go up 2, which is +2. Now, radius is just counting blocks, guys. Literally, draw the line either to the left, to the right, up or down. No matter what, you can count blocks because it's going to go along blocks that you can count. How long is the radius? 2. 2. We're going to go 1, 2. That's the radius right there. You don't have to draw it all 4 directions. I'm just showing you can draw it all 4. Pick one direction, draw it that way, count the blocks. Okay, now that we have the center and the radius, we should be able to write the equation for this problem. To write the equation for this problem, we're going to write x. Okay, the biggest thing here, is it +2 or -2 when I write it in the problem? Plus. It's always the opposite. So x plus 2 squared plus, since that's a positive 2, when we put it over here, it's going to be y minus 2 squared equals what? What's that going to be equal to? What was it? I'm sorry. 4. Perfect. 4. Because you square the number. That's exactly correct. Nicely done, guys. This is going very well. Is anybody having any concerns at all? Yes, please.
For the radius and
Yes.
the center.
Yes. How do you get it from the picture? So from the picture, let's do the next one and just show you on this, and then you let me know what it is that you have a question about when I look for that. So for the center, what I'm doing is looking where that center point is on the graph. So I'm basically starting at the origin and I count blocks. To get to that point, I would have to go 2 to the right. Since I'm going to the right, that 2 is positive when I put it in my ordered pair. And then I am moving up 1, and since I'm moving up, that's a positive 1. Is the center point okay? Is that part good? Okay. Then for the radius, literally all I'm doing is counting blocks. How far away from the center is that outside edge? How many blocks do I have to go? Well, if I'm here, I just go 1 block. There's my radius. And it's a distance of 1. Now, guys, I'm going to skip the right in the equation for a second just because I want to focus on what she's talking about. I'm going to go down here to 11, just do the center and the radius real quick just because we're on that subject. We had a question about that. So looking at the center for this one, because this center tends to be one that people struggle with. If you're starting at the origin, you got to go left or right first. We're going to go 1 to the left. Anytime you go to the left, that makes it negative, so it's going to be -1 for my x. But I don't go up or down, guys. When I don't go up or down, what is my y? Y is 0. If you don't go up or down, that number is going to be 0. Okay? Then the radius, you're going to count blocks. It doesn't matter what direction you draw it in. How many blocks does that radius make, guys? 4? You see how it's 4? Okay, good deal. Okay, let's go ahead and finish out. I'm already doing this. I'm going to go ahead and do the center and the radius for this since I'm already doing this process. Let's go ahead and get the center for this one and the radius for this one. What is the center for this one? Someone said what it was called. What's the numbers? 0, 0. Yes, it's the origin. I heard origin everywhere, but 0, 0. Good. 0, 0. And what's the radius? 3. There you go. Does anybody have any concerns about finding the center or the radius, since that's something we wanted to make sure everybody's good on before we write the equations? Okay, now that you have the center and the radius, then writing the equation is exactly like the last problems we did. It's exactly like example 4 through 7 now. So you just write the equation starting with the x. In this case, the x has a positive 2, so when I write it, it's going to be -2 squared. Plus, for the y, since it's a positive 1, it's going to be -1 squared. And since it's 1 on the end, 1 squared is still going to be 1. Okay, to write the equation on 10, guys, because it's 0, 0, you don't have anything added or subtracted. It's just going to be x squared plus y squared equals what? 9. Very good. 9. Nice. Okay, last one has a combination. It's going to have part and part. It's going to have some of one and some of another. Who's willing to do it? Anybody willing to vote? Yes. So x plus 1 squared plus nice equals perfect. Exactly right. Anybody have a concern, question, anything about this section? Didn't I tell you? It's going to be something you can do. Come on, guys. Okay, so this is a nice way to end this